Well, Goose is helping me in the garden again today. We're doing more topiary work, and I am hereby declaring August the month of topiary, because even though the rest of the garden doesn't look so great, a lot of my topiaries are at their very best, because especially my Myrtle Compacta, they love this hot weather, the strong sun, and as long as I give them enough water, they're perfectly happy. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I did some homegrown free topiary the other day. You can find it in the topiary playlist, the whole playlist for topiaries. We'll put a card above. Just click on the card and it will take you to all sorts of topiary information. But I have a topiary question for you, and that is, if you do topiary, and a lot of you do apparently, I want to know what's your favorite medium to work with. Is it boxwood? Is it myrtle? Is it rosemary? Juniper? Whatever it is, please let me know what your favorite medium of topiary is to work with. And speaking of, let's walk through, for this Wednesday walkabout, I'm going to give you a little bit of a topiary tour. So all of these, you guys ask me about these a lot. Now, these are just kind of floating out here. Yes, it looks too cluttered and it looks too congested, but they're here for a reason. And it's because this area gets the most sun right now. And so I really want them to put on as much growth and fortification going into the holidays as I can, because pretty soon, well, not pretty soon, but when it starts getting cold, they're not frost hardy and they have to go inside. And by the way, these are Myrtle Compacta. If you want to buy one preformed already made, then I definitely recommend that you go to Passiflora Kalamazoo. I'll put a link in the description below, and just ask for Angela and she can send you one that's relatively large. Now, as I've said multiple times before, it can be kind of pricey, but for me, it's how I like to spend my money. So that said, if you want a large one, go to talk to my friend Angela at Passiflora Kalamazoo. Now, all of these I've had for a number of different years. My friend Monica, she also, if you want to check out her playlist on how to make your own starts, she starts lots of myrtles for me that I then train in different kinds of ways. And some of them are kind of fun and some of them are kind of unique. One thing that I would love to have a large one of ultimately in my garden is an Espalier. And since I don't have room for a large Espalier right now, I have to make mini ones. And this this one I constructed just by putting together a grid of stakes, and I just trained them laterally and vertically. This one is in desperate need of pruning. You may have had the backside, I'm not sure. And then I use these little tiny hair clips that you can get off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below that you can get off of Amazon. You can even get them probably, I think I've even seen them at the dollar store. You can get them a number of different places. But these tiny little clips do great to help you train your topiaries. Now, I did a video the other day, and my question was what's your impediment? How to identify an impediment. And so my impediment right now to making this area just look more organized and a little bit a more cohesive part of my landscape than just floating out here. And that's my impediment. I can't get over, well, how do I do that? How do I do that? Well, I think I may have found a solution at an antique store here recently that maybe Stuart and I will take you on a little tour of this antique store. I may have found a stand that could accommodate most of these in one place. So then I have them aggregated all in one beautiful location on a beautiful piece of furniture of sorts that I can place outside, and it might solve this kind of visual discordance that I don't like. So this is all about my Myrtle Topiaries. So Stuart, you can kind of show them. I've got all different varieties and different sizes and shapes. Some of them are double ball, some of them are triple ball. Recently, I really like this tight conical form, so I've got some of these trained. And one thing I do, you guys, is I keep rotating them so that whatever area is bare is getting the most sun. And this time of year, I feed them real heavily. I don't care if it's Miracle-Gro, I'll use something organic like an Espoma product. It really doesn't matter for these guys. They just want to be fed a lot while they're in an active growth stage. And right now, while other plants may not be, these Myrtle Topiaries definitely are in an active growth stage. I've got some here in these planters, and someone asked me, will I eventually take those apart and plant them all individually? No, this is to be a mini hedge, and I am letting them not only put on size and girth in the rectangle, but you'll notice I've left, it rained the other day and it opened up some areas, so there's kind of like holes in the canopy, and I'm allowing that to stay in place because I want it to do this. I want it to start putting out some interior growth so it will be thick all the way down, as well as just putting some out on the exterior, which then kind of makes a veneer of green, but there's not a lot of density to it. So right now these are working on getting really thick and full before I bring them inside, and I use them around the holidays because I really like to use topiary during the holidays and just as wonderful centerpieces when I don't have anything else. Okay, so come back here, and I'm really working on this. This is not how it will look. These have just kind of been placed back here temporarily. I used to have a rose right here that succumbed to rose rosette, and I had to take it out, and so this gave me an area where I could displace some of my topiaries, and I just kind of stuck them back here. I need to make sure that this plant stand is straight and level because that will kind of bother me. But the majority of the topiary that I'm going to have on here are going to be rosemaries. One trick that I like to do to keep things looking not cluttered and more categorized is to try to kind of match the type of pots that they're in. Some of these are kind of matched and some aren't. So you can see that these two kind of speak to each other. These are two really old pots. These are both rosemaries. And then I have a number of small ones that I'm getting ready to pot up. Some that I already have in these white terracotta pots. These actually were painted terracotta. I got these at Michael's a number of years ago, and they're developing a wonderful patina, and I've got these in different sizes. So I want all of these small rosemaries, and by the way, these were starts from Monica because I'm going to make little mini Christmas trees out of them, because I want to use them in my Christmas decor. This one, you can see it may be tiny, but it already has a wonderful Christmas tree shape. And so I'm going to pot these up in these matching containers. But this is really my motivation for talking to you all today. But before I do that, let me just tell you one of my favorite plants of this year is this Montrose white Calamenta. It is absolutely wonderful. You guys, it has put on these blooms with such fragrance. It's a pollinator magnet. I'm sure Stuart probably, is there a bee there already? Yeah. It is always covered in bees. The fragrance is just incredible with a pretty strong mint scent. I keep meaning to top it with gravel and I haven't yet. I know this is also a favorite of Aaron at the Impatient Gardener. I love this, and I'm definitely going to plant more of it next year. It is and should be a perennial, mounding perennial, comes back year after year. So I am definitely going to get more of this because I think it could just be beautiful on a display, like a whole shelf of these. It would be beautiful in a garden bed. If you've got an all-white garden, it would be wonderful. But I'm getting off topic here because this is what I wanted to show you. So last week I talked about digging up little baby Blue Point junipers from your own garden and transforming them into topiaries. Well, here is another thing. I find these all of the time, and this is something I don't even have in my yard. So the birds or the squirrels or some kind of wildlife are planting these. I find them everywhere, and they actually make great topiaries. And what I like about these and the junipers is I can leave them outside year round. Now, if it gets bitterly cold, like our Arctic blast that we had last year, I would probably bring them in or put them in a protected area. But these can stay outside. And these, I'm assuming, because I didn't plant them myself, are just like cherry laurels. Now I've had this one, I think, for 2 years, and I'm trying to decide what shape, because I'm getting ready to prune it, and when I do, of course, I'll let you guys tag along. I'm not sure what shape I want it. Do I want it to stay, I'm leaning towards just a strong columnar shape, not even conical, but just a columnar shape, which I think could be really attractive. Just a tower of this cherry laurel green all the way up, which means that I'll start having to prune it on this side and do some things down here to encourage bushiness. Here you can see that I've got just some of these little clips. Again, I'll try to put a link below to secure it to a pole so it will stand upright and fly right, and this makes it go vertical. And you'll see that I've put in an especially long cane because I want to accommodate future growth, just like I did with this rosemary right here. I love it. It's one of my favorite topiaries right now, and I'm wanting to start a little family of these conical topiaries. Here is another one, and I need to do some training on this, and I need to decide how I want to train it. So you guys, please give me some input. I could put in a stake. I've got all sorts of bamboo stakes, and then I could train it this way with this longest branch, secure this to the stake and get it to go vertical. I could leave it at about this height and just start shortening the branches so it would bush out, take this one off, and then I could get kind of a lollipop shape on top. I think that's an option. Stuart seemed to kind of like that option. So I'm deciding on that one. This one, I definitely just want it to thicken out at the top. And doesn't it look sweet in one of my little QVC baskets? This is the smallest basket. It's the 6 or 7 inch one, I can't remember. I'll put a link below if there are still some left, because is that not the cutest thing? Would that not make a wonderful gift? Again, I just dug these up in my yard. Part of it's just being observant and looking to see what candidates you have that would make good topiary. And this one I think is already really sweet. I'm gonna do some pruning and some clipping along the tips so that it will continue to fill out and get a little bushier. This new growth is easy to just finger prune. The other ones are a little bit tougher and you need some scissors. But I can work on that. And as always, typically I have things in 3s, so I've got a trio of these that I could use as a tablescape. I like these also because they've got this deep green glossy foliage, and I think they would be beautiful mulched with red berries or little pine cones, or just a multitude of things that I could use to mulch them with. And I think they would be wonderful for holiday decor, indoors or outdoors. And a lot of us in the South and in the West and in certain parts of the country, and increasingly with climate change up north, we can entertain and use our outdoor spaces, our outdoor living areas, so much more into the typical cool and cold weather months than we used to be able to. And so these are wonderful to put on your dining table or a side table, or some kind of baker's rack or something on your front porch. I love these. Again, these are free. This is just a little cherry laurel evergreen. I noticed the other day that I had some little Burford holly starts. Those may not be my plant of choice to use because they're kind of prickly. Nevertheless, you could. And there are other types of hollies, I bet, that if you looked, you could find in your own garden, because hollies around Christmas time are just wonderful. If they thrive, that's terrific. I've had these for about 2 to 3 years. If they succumb to whatever life has to throw at them, then you really haven't lost anything, and you've enjoyed them for as long as they endured. So I really hope I encourage you to try this. It's so fun, and it's really fun to do with kids. Now somebody asked me, so here's a little bit of history. Somebody asked me when I first became infatuated with growing little trees in pots and topiary. Well, it actually started when I was a senior in high school, the summer before my high school year at Martinsville High School in Martinsville, Indiana. And prior to that, I lived in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I went to high school there. But the summer before, I'm digressing, the summer before my senior year in high school, my father got transferred back to Indiana. So here I was starting my senior year in high school. I knew no one. All I did know was that where we were living was so green and so lush, and there were woods right outside our house. And I was really into houseplants at that point in time. So I would go outside and I would dig up little trees because I wanted more houseplants. And so I would dig up whatever little trees I could find, and I would put them in little containers, and I'd keep them in my bedroom where I had pretty good sun exposure. And before you know it, I had this little family of trees, and some worked great and some didn't. I dug up ferns, I dug up all sorts of little things from the woods in the backyard, and it started, lo and behold, I guess my obsession with little trees in pots and topiaries in particular. So if you haven't tried it, please do. Make sure to answer the question, what is your favorite medium to use for topiary? And this was a very dedicated space Wednesday walkabout today, but I hope you enjoyed it, and more importantly, I hope you try some topiary. Well, if you have held on this long for the fashion epilogue, here it is. If you're not interested, then go ahead and skip to the next video. Obviously today, my best accessory is my grand pup Goose, who is still here while my kids are on their honeymoon. She is very happy because I've got some treaties for her. Today, my sunglasses, I believe, came from Forever 21. Now let me make a little comment on fast fashion. And by fast fashion, I mean inexpensive places like Forever 21, H&M, those kinds of places that have really inexpensive clothing that a lot of times is just disposed of afterwards. So I'm very cautious when I purchase things from there. That said, when I do, I usually, like most things, I keep things for a pretty long time because I do rewear them. So I've had these sunglasses for years. They kind of have a John Lennon vibe. I've had them for years, and I believe I got them at Forever 21. As I did this top, which has kind of a Sundance or a Johnny Was vibe, I got this at Forever 21. I have had it for years. My breeches they're just really loose jeans. I've showed you these before. I got them at Nordstrom Rack. I love this variety or this version of these form fit sandals. They've got kind of an African safari vibe. These are Chinese laundry. I believe I got these on Amazon, and if so, I will put a link to below. And speaking of links, all of these links, if you just kind of click anywhere below the video, it will expand the description. And after the description of this video, you will see all of the links of things for today, but also things that I just regularly am recommending to you. My bracelets are just a montage of ones that I've gotten over the years. This is one of my favorite things to collect when I travel because they don't take up a lot of space. I do like to wear them. And it's just another place where you can express your creativity and demonstrate the art of composition. So, and my earrings I got from a local purveyor, and I'm sorry I can't remember the company, but I bought these at a little kiosk at Scissortail Park, which is a wonderful, relatively new park in Oklahoma City. So that is my fashion epilogue and my outfit du jour.